Call to order the Thornapple Kellogg Board of Education regular meeting. This is August 11th, 2025. We're in the Early Childhood Center, the boardroom. Could we have a roll call of the board, please?
Brock,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Wenger,
Here.
Price,
Here.
Hilton, here, Stanton, here, Hess, here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item, adoption of the agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda or an amendment.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Got a motion by Mr. Winger, support by Mr. Smith. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Public input. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public input on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Members of the public may address the Board of Education during public comment for up to 3 minutes. Speakers will be recognized by the presiding officer and asked to state their name, their address, and their group affiliation if applicable. As a reminder, all comments should be directed to the board and not to staff or other participants. No participant may speak more than once. Participants may not behave in a manner that is disruptive to the orderly conduct of the meeting. The Board of Education does not respond to public comment. The superintendent will follow up with speakers when appropriate. At this time, we will begin public comment. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Going once. Anybody that would like to speak? Twice? All right, we'll close public comment. There will be an option at the end for another one. On to the consent grouping. We can go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the items of the consent grouping, or by one board member request, pull out an item for further discussion.
I'll motion that we approve the consent grouping items as presented.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Mr. Smith and support by Ms. Hilton. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you, board. Committee and liaison reporting. Is there any committee meetings to report on? I don't believe we had any. No? Okay. Great. Now down to the approval of the TK Education Support Staff Support Personnel Association Agreement. Mr. Pouch, do you have the details for us on that?
Certainly. So if you recall at the July Board of Education meeting, we went into closed session and Assistant Superintendent Mark Provost had the opportunity to review through the quick hitters as far as where we're at with negotiations with our support group. Since then, we've had the opportunity to report out the full document with the board. So subsequent to any questions, Mark and/or I would be happy to answer those. This is another great opportunity to show our appreciation towards staff for the hard work that our support staff puts in each day. It continues to be an effort to make sure all the support staff positions are filled as we kick off the school year, and short of a couple of paraprofessionals and one bus driver that just resigned. Overall, if we had to start school tomorrow, support staff-wise, we could. So a huge thank you to our support group negotiations team for collaborating with us and putting kids first and making sure we had a contract and offers that support our support staff. So if there's any questions, I probably would defer to Mark, as he was the lead on this one, and I glanced through everything and looked at it, but he was the one at the table for every meeting. I was unavailable to make the last meeting.
Any questions, board? All right, looking to entertain a motion.
I'll motion that we approve the agreement between the Thornapple Kellogg Board of Education and the Thornapple Kellogg Education Support Personnel Association for the school years 2025 and 26, 2026 and 27, and 2027 and 28.
I'll support.
All right. We have a motion by Smith and a support by Hess regarding the Education Support Personnel Association Agreement. Any discussion on the motion? All right, looks like a roll call.
Stanton?
Yes.
Hilton?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Hess, yes. Smith?
Yes?
Wenger?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Quickly into our second public comment. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to comment? Going once? Twice? All right. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we kick off the superintendent report of this meeting, I had to really narrow down to 6 things that I'd like to update the board on, as it is a very busy time of year. We were talking how traditionally busy August is, and I could take up an hour of your night just talking about the great things that we have going on and everything that we've been involved in over the past several weeks. But the first reminder I want to give to the full board, this was in a board update communication as well, is please keep on your calendars that we have a board retreat scheduled for a week from today, August 18th at 7 p.m. And I will send out reminders as well between now and then that will take place in the central office conference room, as that's a little better for the video projection that we're going to do with Collins and Blaha. If you recall, at the July meeting, we discussed getting trained. All members of the board have to be trained in the evaluation tool for legislation, and Collins and Blaha will be doing that training at 7 p.m. on August 18th at my office. Per Collins and Blaha, pending whatever board questions there might be, they said expect about 60 minutes. So if there's some questions, then that could take a little bit longer. From past experiences with Collins and Blaha, they will give us either beforehand or afterwards the PowerPoint presentation that we can continue to come back to it as well. But they'll lay out the process in a very friendly manner. So before I go on to my second item, are there any questions on the Board of Education retreat scheduled a week from today, August 18th, 7 o'clock at my office, with the purpose to get trained on the superintendent evaluation tool?
Snacks.
Erica will have you taken care of.
Tyler's great about that.
Second item on my list is, again, it was shared in a previous communication, but we're here today, so nothing beats a face-to-face invite as well and a face-to-face conversation. So I personally want to take the opportunity to invite all of you to our Welcome Back program, which is going to be held on August 20th, which is next week, Wednesday, so a week and a half away. Breakfast and light refreshments will take place at 7:30 in the high school cafeteria, Main Street. Sorry, learning some of the lingo. Main Street there, and then the actual program will start at 8 o'clock in the auditorium. So again, you're all invited. I know you all have work schedules, you all have kids that you're balancing, but I think it goes a long way if we can all make it a priority to get there for 60 seconds or the entire hour, hour and a half. Our staff does pay attention to that, and it shows the support that we give from the board on down to our staff. So as I mentioned with President Brock, he will give a short speech just welcoming back the staff, 3 to 5 minutes, and we have a pretty tight agenda thereafter. So again, welcome back program. You're all invited August 20th, which is Wednesday. Breakfast is from 7:30 to 8. The formal program will start at 8 o'clock. And we also have an employee recognition portion in there, which it's always great just to see the number of years, particularly as you go higher up, and many of you might have had some of those folks when you were in school, and it's just outstanding to see their commitment to our profession. So hopefully you can make it. If not, we also know that you have lives, and the staff will understand. Any questions on your invitation to the Welcome Back program, August 20th, 7:30 at the high school? The third item that I had is last week, it's been a very busy several weeks of just meeting individuals, small groups, whether it's parents, community members, fellow superintendents. List goes on and on. I would love to share every meeting I've had with you because they're all powerful and helping me learn a lot about TK and our strengths and our growth areas and where we're at. But Ever since I've interviewed here, it became very apparent that, and I'm using this word lightly, that CTE is a buzzword around here. It's brought up a lot, and I use the word buzzword because it's nothing new, and I say buzzword because I still am learning, but I'm figuring out, why it's a buzzword, where it falls. And I'm learning very quickly and have a pretty strong background in CTE, so it's interesting for me to bring my experiences with where maybe Berry County and Kent County are at as well. So last week, I had the opportunity to attend the Berry County Business, Industry, and Education Luncheon, which was held at Hastings High School in their beautiful Performing Arts Center there. So I bet there were 150, 200 people there altogether from the entire county, exactly from the sectors of business, industry, and education. And that organization is new to me, obviously, but what I am familiar with is the focus of their group. And the focus for that day, a large initiative that this group has been working on, is a career consortium of Berry County. So I want to set the stage a little bit here, so when we hear the word CTE, we hear that buzzword, we know what we're referring to. First, I think it's fair that we all note and remember that when it comes to our affiliation with ISDs, we're affiliated with Kent ISD. So our kids are fully exposed to a career technical center. Our kids can get on the big limousine that looks yellow every single day, and they can ride on up to the tech center. We have anywhere from 45 to 60 kids that enroll in programs up there a year. 10 to 15 of them, pending the program, get waitlisted. A lot of times the wait list is for the same program. I'll use health sciences, for example. Very high demand program. So I can sit here and tell you we have 20 kids waitlisted, but maybe 18 of the 20 are actually for one program. So I want to make sure our board is clear on that, because as many of you know that have been around a while, the waves get a little twisted with us being largely in part in Berry County, but yet we are affiliated with Kent County. And I'm telling you this because as I end, you'll understand why I'm setting the stage that you probably already know. So in Berry County, there is no tech center in the county, whether you know that or not. So it sounds like there have been some pop-up tech centers I'm going to use with different organizations, different entities, putting kids first and trying to bridge that connection between industry and schools. But Hastings and Delton Kellogg, they do not send their kids on the yellow limousine to a tech center. They don't have one. So that puts all the pressure on the schools, those two districts mainly, to provide CTE programs to their own kids. They have no county help. They have no county support. We are blessed to be part of Kent ISD, where they have an abundance of programming. Because with that now, I've learned at this meeting and talking to all the other Berry County superintendents, and this is no secret because it's been passed by resolution at their meeting, so I'm comfortable saying this. The Berry ISD, along with Delton Kellogg and Hastings, are going to go for a CTE. I'm using the word CTE millage because I don't know if it's an enhancement millage. I don't know if it's CTE. I heard some different language. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, they're going for a millage to support CTE at the county level with the ultimate goal to create a tech center in Berry County. So, backing up, we're part of Kent ISD. We're not part of Berry ISD. I want to be very clear on where do we stand with all this? How are we a player in the game? To be frank, we're not a player in the game. We're a player in the game if we want to pay to send our kids there. So what I mean by that is, let's say the CTE millage passes in November. The monies are going to go to Hastings and Delton Kellogg, and I'm not really clear on how things are going to happen from there. But if we wanted to send kids to be part of the electrical program, because let's say Kent ISD is full, we're waitlisted, and they happen to have 2 openings in this Berry Consortium Tech Center, we could look at the option of paying whatever that fee is to send our kids there, because we're not a taxpayer in Berry County. So that's where it gets interesting, and it's very important that all of us are at least on the same page, because I know, because I heard it, that it's no secret, the more households you put into an ISD, the more maybe yes or no votes you get, but the more your taxable values go up and the more money you can take. So we have to be very aware of that too, and I've had that conversation with all three of those superintendents. Let's just be very clear that our role in this is to support anything and everything that's good for kids. But also know that if we want to send somebody to this, if it comes to light, we're going to pay you. We're going to pay you to take our kid. We're not within the voting rights of Berry ISD. So, and that can become very political. I don't know the history there. I know it's been 50+ years, but I think it's good for this group to at least understand that dynamic as talking points when you're out in the community. If you hear the great things that are happening within CTE and Berry County, we are not voters of Berry County. We are voters of Kent ISD and that tech center. So we would be paying to send our kids there, which would be great. So I just felt the need to, as I've listened and learned and had different conversations, to at least set that stage a little bit, because we get excited about the great work that they're doing in Berry County, and our kids would benefit from it. But I can also see the other side of that spectrum, where there is a pocket that without a doubt would love for Thornapple Kellogg Schools to be part of Berry ISD. And we are very fortunate and very blessed to be part of Kent ISD and the abundance of opportunities that our kids have up there. We're sending 45 to 60 kids right now a year to vocational CTE Tech Center School, where unfortunately the kids in Berry County, besides what's being done locally at the districts, don't have that county experience. So if you get approached, I just wanted you to have some background knowledge that it's kind of a deep subject area, and for the average person, they may not know how things fall in voting this and that, and if people ask you, supposedly they're putting a millage on the election, we're not voting on that. So any questions with that? I just wanted to be clear on that divide. We have newer board members, and maybe they haven't had high school kids yet, and it's a buzzword that we have a lot of good things going on within our CTE programs. As part of our strategic plan, there's room for expansion, and we're going to dive into that as we move through the year. But I've also heard there's an abundance of kids on wait lists for us, and that's, I just heard that last week. That's not the case. We have kids waitlisted, just as most districts do when it comes to those services. And for example, if that tech center does come through in Berry County, there's a good chance our kids could get waitlisted there too, because if it's a Hastings kid or a Delton Kellogg kid and they're paying taxes on that millage, we're not going to get a certain allotment. We basically are going to be allowed, this is me assuming, we would be allowed the allotment that's left over. So I'd love to take questions. It's kind of a deep subject, but I wanted to have a few talking points so we're all on the same page when we talk about it. Kira had a question.
So I've been kind of researching this for a few years now with the CTE that's out in this area, us versus Berry County. I know Caledonia has quite a few CTE classes, and they are part of Kent ISD as well. I think the concern amongst a lot of parents has been the fact that KCTC is wonderful. It's absolutely fabulous, but you can't start it till junior year. And it's mostly intended for, when you start that program, you're finishing it out. So it's for kids that already know what they want to do. Where traditional CTE is intended to help students figure out what they're good at and what areas, career paths they may enjoy or have a passion for. So I think that's the biggest desire amongst the parents I've spoken with. KCTC absolutely is a great option, but we aren't supplying an option for kids to explore in the CTE realm. So I think that's my biggest concern.
One thing with that I forgot to put out there, which builds on that, is Kent ISD is in the process of creating an advisory board or a focus group to focus on a satellite campus for CTE. Naturally, I signed up for that and jumped all over it. Hopefully some fellow Southern Kent County ISD soups will as well, because there's no secret that there'd be other districts in the county that would love it to be closer to them too. So, but I'm on that, I'm looking forward to it, and I can pass our board beliefs and what we're looking for onto that, and hopefully we can get it, as far south as possible. And Kira brought on a great point, and some of it is just defining what CTE is, because CTE tends to be the catch-all, which when we say CTE, there are certain program requirements and certifications from the state. We talk job embedded, or job embedded learning, work-based, workplace learning. There's a lot of different components to it. When I hear what Kira just said, it's more of that EDP process my brain actually went to of what are we doing through that EDP plan of getting kids tracking their middle school and high school years of where they're headed, and then how is that coming to fruition? And I'll continue to learn more about that and building those exploratory type classes to get into it. So I know the high school administration, they're eager to get into some strategic planning data and look for ways we can expand, but I also want to go slow to go fast, to where let's make sure we're doing this right and make sure we're doing programming that our kids are interested in, because that kind of can be a problem with CTE too, is sometimes you jump on the latest and greatest, and that cohort likes it, but then you spend a lot of money and the cohorts behind them, they're not interested in it. So,
I did, when I was actually walking through with the superintendent interviews and actually with Rob, we stopped in Mr. Welker's class, Principles of Technology, and they had some welding. There was actually, I think, one individual talking about some HVAC, right, Rob? Yeah, designing some HVAC and stuff, and they, I'm not sure really what grades that's offered to. When I was in school, I know it was offered to all classmen, freshmen, all the way up. So I think there is some sort of introduction to some of that stuff, but obviously not going to be as robust as KCTC, who's got a giant building for directly manufactured for some of those career paths and such. But
Well, and the difference is when it's not a CT, like, that's a great class.
Yeah.
But you have to take that class and it doesn't count towards math or English or.
Oh,
so
I got you.
CT is gonna count towards one of those credits and,
Yeah.
that's a huge benefit for kids that are trying to learn without wasting all their, electives on figuring out what it is they like.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
any other questions on that? Again, that could be a 2-hour presentation down the road, but at least it's gonna become talking points and the county's getting excited. But I also wanted to be transparent on what our role is. You as board members may get asked, and really it's just to support the county, but we don't vote in that millage. And, we're very happy in Kent ISD and what that ISD offers our kids.
In addition to us not voting on it, our taxes continue to go to the Kent County ISD and not to the Berry County, even if it does pass, correct?
Yep.
You are absolutely correct. That's a great point. Yeah, so really what they do has no impact on our district, other than there could be programs
Yep.
available to kids that we could take a prorated FTE, whatever their charge is, and kids could go there. Really, we could do that right now. I'm just referencing this.
I was
No
just about to
idea
ask
our
that.
relationship with Caledonia, but that model could exist with Caledonia right now. If they have all these programs, we could get on the phone, hey, we got an automotive kid that wants to go there. I don't know if that's been done, but.
that was
that's
gonna be my
nothing
other
new.
question. A parent had asked, okay, I get that you guys are working on it, but my kid has 4 years in high school, so, time's not an option. So she was asking, can she send her kids to Delton? Hastings has a construction CTE course, and I didn't know the answer to that.
Not to put Mark on the spot, but do you know if that's been, or even Erica in the audience, or John? and
I
Megan,
don't know
if you
much about that program. I don't think there's like a shared partnership, but there's, not to say there couldn't possibly, I don't know the rules and regs around that. I think we'd have to just do a little bit more research on that and ask some questions.
Doesn't sound like anything we do currently. then,
No,
is what I'm
No.
not that I've
No.
heard.
Okay, so that's the answer I was looking for. But yes, there are cooperative agreements and such that schools can do. It doesn't sound like we have done that, but certainly every option is worth looking into.
Quick question. You had said, you kind of busted the myth of there's an abundance of kids on the wait list. You said that's not true. Roughly average, how many kids do not?
So
Make it.
I spoke with Principal Peterson Friday on that. He followed up with me today, but I didn't have a good grip on the data to put it in readable format. So his counselors pulled data, anywhere from 45 to 65 kids signed up. I believe last year, I think he said there were 15 to 20 kids waitlisted, but then a handful of them got in as we got closer. But my question on it before I wanted to make it public, data, is give me the program breakdown of,
Yeah.
because maybe they were all, I know health sciences is very, very popular. So how many of those are just health sciences versus maybe how many of them are heavy equipment? I don't know, so I wanted to have a presentation, I just didn't have the time. So I would say anywhere, when I looked at his numbers, anywhere from 10 to 20 out of the 45 to 60 plus were waitlisted. I just didn't know what programs. And then a handful of them got in as they got closer to the year. But I will certainly, as I clean up that data, I'll share it with you.
Sure.
So you can see. Moving on. Thank you for your time on that. Knew that one would be a little lengthier than some of the other ones. We do have some exciting policy updates we need to work through as a board. So last year, just due to interim superintendents and the dynamics, there's 2 policy updates from Neola, 39-1, 39-2, I believe they are, if I remember right. A lot of federal updates, some other grammatical updates. If I remember, it's been a while since I've looked at them, but I know we did those updates, so I'm pretty well reversed on them, just don't remember which ones they are. However, we need to schedule a policy committee meeting, which is trustees Price, Hilton, and Brock. And I had a few dates. It would be great to try to pencil that in right now while we're all here. If that doesn't work, Erica can follow up with an email, but again, face-to-face conversations are always great if we can work through it. So I have 4 dates that I saw on my calendar in talking to Erica. It appears that past practice has been policy meetings take place around 5-ish, but that's flexible based on what schedule works for these 3 board members. But I have August 26th, August 27th, September 2nd, or September 3rd. The timeline is I'd like to bring the first reading to the September board meeting. So we get past September 3rd, and even that might be tight. It's gonna be tough to do that. So if these dates don't work out, that's fine. I just need to push everything back. First reading would be October, second reading would be November. So do you prefer to hash through a date now for those 3, trustee Price, Hilton, and Brock? Or would you prefer Erica to send something out and you get home and you can look at your calendars?
I unfortunately don't have my calendar with me, so.
Yeah, if we can reply back
Yep.
tomorrow morning or so. Yep.
Absolutely. All right, exciting things continue to go on in Kent ISD, and one thing you're gonna start hearing a lot on is the enhancement millage. So this is the first district that I've been part of that has an enhancement millage. And let me tell you, another perk of being part of Kent ISD, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Mark will give you the exact number, but it's roughly $1 million, just under $1 million, that we get because the voters of Kent ISD approved this enhancement millage. And every district could benefit from this, but it is an absolute game changer when it comes to staffing, innovative programs, and putting kids first and trying to be innovative. So the original 10-year enhancement millage is going to be up. They as in us, Kent ISD is going out for it a little earlier than need be, simply because right now millages have dropped to about a 50% passing rate as of last Tuesday. The August primary millage was last Tuesday, and it was about 50%. So Kent ISD is planning, in the event it doesn't pass, they have time to come back and get it on previous ballots. So again, don't know how much the board knows or the audience knows as a whole about the enhancement millage, but what they're asking for is it's a 0.9 mil renewal for 10 years, so it's a renewal. There is something wonky in there that I'm gonna avoid with the Headley tax rollover and a 0.05 that is kind of new, but it has to do with the Headley piece.
So it's essentially if taxable, or the CPI, if taxable value exceeds CPI, they would have to dip into the Headley so that they can make that 0.9 mils whole. Otherwise, it would be subject to being rolled back, where maybe in future years, it could be a 0.83 or, a fraction of that 0.9. So I don't know all the ins and outs, but that's kind of what that 0.5 mil override would do. They would never levy more than the 0.9. It's essentially similar to our non-homestead, where we only ever levy a max of 18 mils. However, we have that override should we need it, should our taxable values go skyrocket, and to hold that harmless.
Yep.
And that is why we have people like Mark on our team. You see how excited he got? Yeah,
He did.
Spot there.
So anyways, yes, Mark is spot on. Thank you, Mark, for that, not to put you on the spot. But it essentially is a 9 mil renewal for 10 years. It will generate roughly $357 per student. So again, times that by 3,100, and this is just $1 million budget loss if it doesn't pass. There's no other way to put it. It's $1 million we lose from our budget, and other Kent County schools will lose too, that other surrounding counties may or may not have. So I share with you with this now because September is going to be the big stage where we start pushing information out because of absentee ballots. They're anticipating 90% of the voting will come from absentee ballots based on all their data, not they, the firms they collect, not the ISD. This is kind of a low turnout election coming up because it's a non-election year, non-political major party election year. So those ballots come out mid to late August, I think they said. So we'll have a push in early September of getting information out to a select group. It's not going to everybody. They've made it very clear that this goes to people that are likely to vote, not necessarily one way or the other, just on record, these are people that have voted 50 of the last 50 elections. So we'll start getting that information out, and we'll follow Kent ISD's lead for the November 4th election. But again, if you happen to hear stuff about that, it's great for kids. It's beneficial. And our district, in a really simple conversation, we lose $1 million. So we'd have to, Mark, we hire people like him for this too. We got to cut $1 million. So where do we start? And we don't want to have that conversation. So we'll continue to share information on that. And the last thing I have is just a huge thank you to all of the staff that I've been working with, but particularly, our central office staff and our leadership cabinet of Mark, Erica, Megan, and John. When I say they've spent hours with me over the past 40, 50 days, that's not an exaggeration. We have absolutely taken deep dives into systems, into operations. Kudos to this board for back in March, April, May, identifying 2 departments that needed 2 full-time administrators between HR and then a K-12 curriculum model. It brings everything out of isolation and brings it into a K-12 vision. So, I feel like we have a very good grip on what is operating very well through honest conversations, what needs an absolute just reset and start over, and what do we need to slow down on to tie this together. So they've consumed a lot of time with me, but in the long run it's going to pay off. So without a doubt, we're very blessed to have a strong leadership team in my entire office, and kudos to the board for recognizing and identifying the needs and making what maybe was or was not tough decisions at that time to make sure we get the right people in place. So thank you to all of them. They've been instrumental in making sure we are hitting the ground running, and we couldn't do it without them. And we joke all the time that really, besides Erica, a year ago, the 4 of us weren't here in these spots. So there's good and bad to that. There's a lot of good to it, but yet it's a lot of what takes maybe a little bit longer to learn something because we weren't here, but yet it's also a fresh perspective from 4 different sets of eyes. And then you have the historian there, Erica, that can reel everything back in and put the pieces together for us. So just wanted to give them a thank you. Looking forward to getting all staff here. Started making building rounds. I've been doing it all summer, but now with staff here, it's great to see secretaries coming back and all building principals, and look forward to spending a good chunk of time the rest of this week in building as well. So subsequent to any questions, that does conclude a little bit lengthier than normal superintendent report, but on very important items we covered tonight.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for Rob?
You meant youthful and energetic historian, right?
Yeah.
The knowledge of being here, we need that knowledge here, or we drown without that knowledge.
All right. On to the board comments. Any board comments? I'd like to just say thank you again to the entire team for the work on the support staff agreement and the teaching staff agreement. Those are big milestones here in the last 30 days, so thank you to all of you. That's very much appreciated by the board and by our staff, I'm sure. Anything else? All right, next agenda item is a closed session. So I'd like to entertain a motion for the board to enter closed session.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education move into closed session for the purpose of reviewing attorney-client privilege information.
Support?
We had a motion by Mr. Winger and support by Mr. Price. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you very much. Moving into closed session.
Mark, can you turn the TVs on?